Good morning, everyone. How's everyone feeling after last night's amazing fun gala? We are so thankful that all of you decided to stay with us because this was a huge highlight last year at the Global Collective with Rick. It was like a, let's see what happens. And then the room exploded and we weren't prepared. I know that's shocking. We're always so prepared here at Realm. But we are so thankful to have Rick back with us this year. He has been doing cycle after cycle of his series with AI, which we're going to be releasing and starting a new one at the end of the summer, going into fall, which is very exciting. For those of you who don't know Rick, he is one of our amazing founding Denver members. Obviously, he is in real estate, that's why he's at Realm. And then once AI took off, he became our AI guy. So we're so excited to have him here. And we will be we're just gonna plow through this today because I know a lot of you still wanna get back out on the beach. If you've not grabbed breakfast, please grab some breakfast out there in those cute little bags. Who knew that breakfast could be so bougie? But please hold tight. The Realm Wi-Fi is not on this side of the hotel, so please go ahead and jump onto the hotel's Wi-Fi if you want to follow along or do anything, because he will be talking through a lot of actionable things. So that's completely up to you. Jessica's very excited about that. Okay, so we're gonna get rocking and rolling. Without further ado, everyone, let's please welcome Rick Janson.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me in the back?
Yeah.
Okay, no microphone, so I'm just gonna try to project. I have 9 years of theater between high school and college, so I'll try to figure that out. My name's Rick Janson, and you may have heard this before if you've attended the class. So let me ask you, how many of you have attended an AI class at Realm? Have. Awesome, awesome. How many have not? All right, that's good, that's good. I'm trying to figure out who I'm talking to here. And who does not use AI once a week? At least once a week. Handful, okay. And who uses it every day? That is what I love to see. All right, so I am going to do my best to speak to everybody in the room. So I know there are some people in the room that are like, Rick, I don't even know how to turn my laptop on, but I sell a junk ton of homes, right? I'm gonna watch my language too. So they're like, I sell, top 1% in my market, but I don't know how to turn on a laptop. I'm gonna try to speak to that audience. And then there are other people who are like, Rick, I'm on ChatGPT 6 or 7 hours a day, but I still wanna learn something new. And I know that your time's worth $10,000 an hour, right? That's what we learned. I'm just saying 500. And I'm like, whoa, I'm way underestimating. So $10,000 an hour. And so I need to respect that time to make sure you guys are getting actionable, implementable stuff too. So my goal is that you can leave today with at least 2 to 4 things you can actually move your business forward with. Some of you might actually work on your business while you're here. And so if you have your laptops open or if you have your phone, ChatGPT has an app. You can download the app. You can speak into it. It's marvelous. So we'll do all those things. So like I said, you may have heard this before, but one of the reasons I really got excited about AI is because it does give us our time back. And Aaron, can we possibly turn off the music?
Yes.
Okay. So it gives you your time back, right? So when we think about all the technology that's come to date, and we've got YouTube, but now we have to be video producers and editors and models and actors and supervisors, and then we have to just become social media distributors. Oh my gosh, where am I going to post my hamburger? Right? Like I just had lunch. If somebody doesn't see it, wait, turn it vertical. Like if someone doesn't see it, I didn't eat. Right? I know all of you took pictures of your bougie bags already this morning. So we're trying, there's so many things, texting and emailing, and so many things we're trying to keep up with. That when AI came along and I said, okay, I can do this better, faster, easier, cheaper with AI, I went all in. And so why am I in front of the room instead of somebody else is back in November 2023 when ChatGPT came out, it was funny, somebody came to me, and I still owe him for this. He's like, Rick, I found this amazing thing. You can go on YouTube, take a transcript of that video, rewrite it with ChatGPT, and then you say the new words, and you can hijack their trending content. I'm like, that sounds really unethical. But I was like, that doesn't really sound like what I want to do, right? But then I started thinking about it. And I started like doing, well, what does this mean? What does this look like? What does changing a transcript look like? What does hijacking a hyperlocal trend look like? And I started getting really, really excited. And I started taking every class I could find. Everybody who called themselves a certifier, I certified myself. Everybody who offered a class, I took a class, all the way up to MIT. And I was like, I want to go whole hog on this. And it really crashed my real estate production. So you're welcome. I took the hit so you wouldn't have to. But then I started realizing, like, wow, if I'm going down this rabbit hole and I'm exploring and I'm spending all this time and all this money, can I consolidate this and make it something that you guys don't have to do that? Because at $10,000 an hour, you don't have the time to experiment like I did, because it will crash your production. So I'm here to boost your production as opposed to crash it. Now, when we look back at our speakers from this week, what are some kind of overarching themes that you guys pulled out?
Authenticity.
What?
Authenticity.
Authenticity? Curate? Balance? Yeah. And I remember listening to Chad, and I'm going to ask you guys to do me one little favor. What? The do not want list. We're going to cover that today. Thank you. So I'm going to ask you guys to pull out your phones and pull out your laptops. Before we get started, I want you guys to do me one little favor, because I kind of have a bet with somebody. No one will win. So, and I know Realm members are a collective, and you guys like to lift up your team members, so help me win the bet. So one of the things Chad was saying was, he said, offload some of this stuff. Offload, and this is the only time I'm going to pitch from stage, and then we'll get right into stuff. But he said, offload a lot of your work. Write up that I do not want list. Right? What do I do not like about my job? What do I do not like about interacting with clients? What do I do not like about being a realtor? What do I do not like about cleaning my house? Right? Like, I don't like cleaning the bathroom. Like that, whatever you don't like to do, write that list down. But then, I went up to him after and I said, Chad, where are people supposed to go? You said offload it, but to where? Right? And he said, well, I don't really have that. I said, well, can I offer my services to you? So we're talking right now, but I'm going to give you a little sneak peek at what that looks like. If you go to tinyurl, tinyurl.com/RicksVA, RICKSVA, tinyurl.com/RicksVA. Now, my bet on this, and this is a free little meeting you can have with someone. I'll type it up there so you guys can see what it is. I'm going to type it up here. That helps, right? All right, that's how you spell it. So if you go there, it's going to redirect you to a calendar site. And on the calendar site, what I'm going to ask you to do, because I bet I'm not going to get 20 people to do this. Because it's Realm, and I know when Aaron says a 20, we hit a 50. So because it's Realm, I want to get to like 40 or 50. But if you guys just book a consultation, it's a free consultation with a VA company that I work with. And the virtual assistants are in the Philippines. Many of them have been speaking English since they were born. It's kind of sad they don't even know Tagalog anymore. It's their native language. But you can work with a VA that I then train on AI. So everything you're learning here today, I take the virtual assistants and supercharge them. So if you're going to spend $4 on a VA and get someone brand new, if you're going to spend $8, and that's upper middle class in the Philippines, $8 an hour. If you're going to spend $8, or if you want to spoil someone, spend $12 and then give them bonuses, whatever you want to do, whatever feels right, and they'll help you with that. You can get someone with 5, 10, 15 years corporate experience, real estate experience, CRM experience, video editing experience. But what they really specialize in doing on this one call, and this is me giving you a gift to you, is helping you implement what Chad was talking about. And saying, like, how do I get this stuff off my do not want list? So book a call. It'll take, it'll probably take 3 or 4 days to get on the calendar. And then when you have that call, they're going to help you figure out, do I need an executive assistant? Do I need an internal sales agent? Do I need a video editor? Do I need a CRM manager? Do I need, what do I need? Do I need a direct mail Facebook ad person? And they'll walk you through your business for 30 to 45 minutes, free call, and just say, A, is a VA right for you? Are you ready for one? Is your business stable enough, solid enough? And everybody in here say yes. Yeah. Because you guys are all solid enough. But then B, like, where do you start? And my personal goal is I want to have 5 VAs managed by another VA. So that I can wake up, have a call with my manager for 15 to 30 minutes, outline the day, and then have that manager manage 5 other people. Because I can get 6 people for about $5,000 to $6,000 a month. Now, if you had 6 people full time, that's 240 hours a week of someone else working in a proven system, in a proven way to move your business ahead. Who could benefit from 240 hours a week of extra work? Do you think that would afford you an extra 31 to 60 days of vacation, or 60 to 90 days of vacation? Or Dan on my idle, 2 months, 2 months, 2 months, and then bonus time. Yeah. The login to the internet, I don't know. What was the login to the internet?
getmeconnected.com. You just accept. No trouble. Oh.
All right, I'm not going to do the clap once, clap twice thing. I'll just start talking again. So, raise your hand if you've already booked an appointment. Won't go past May. Is anybody else having trouble booking an appointment? I really want to see if I can get to 20. I'm a competitive person. Is anybody else here competitive?
I can sign up my husband.
What?
I can sign up my husband.
There you go.
He's the best process.
So anyway, I'm going to move this on a little bit, keep trying to get to it. But what I want to do now for the next, that's the only time I'm going to pitch from stage. But I'm pitching you time. I'm pitching you time back in your day. I'm pitching you the ability to actually implement what you've learned here. And the other thing that's kind of ironic is I'm going to say, I want you all to learn AI, but I don't want you to become AI masters. I want you to learn AI so that every time you're interacting with anything you're doing in your life, you can do it better, faster, and easier. But in your real estate job, if you think about our job as like having swim lanes, right? Swim lane 1, 2, and 3. I have a visual for this, but I'm not going to pull it up. In the top swim lane is you at your highest performing self, right? This is you at $10,000 an hour. And what kind of work is that? That's sitting in front of a client. That's space time, like Mark was talking about, right? That one-on-one time. That's you providing your 20 plus years of experience selling ultra luxury homes to ultra high net worth individuals. That's your $10,000 an hour time. But when I hear someone saying, and I'm going to call someone out, but not by name, if I hear someone saying, "Oh my gosh, I had so much fun doing AI design of a room and putting couches in there," I cry. Because that's not what we should be doing, as fun as it is. Or they're saying, "Oh, I just designed a massive drip campaign, and it was so much fun with ChatGPT." I'm like, "That is such a waste of time." You did it so much faster because it was an AI, but you should be delegating that to someone using AI. And if you can delegate it to someone using AI, then you're going to really move your business forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I did want to start off today with just kind of a couple people sharing tangible examples of how you have benefited from AI this month, this year. If anybody wants to raise their hand, we'll do it like a little popcorn. Sally or Haley?
We have a lot of old product in my marketplace, and it's hard for people to envision what could be, so it's easy to say no. So I've been using just 4.0. It's saying, please remove the stairs and show a wall of windows. And you can't, and then I do, so I don't look sleazy, I do a picture in the multiple that's as is, imagine what a render could look like.
Nice.
And I'm no longer having to use box browning and it takes a week for that kind of project to come back. And
Yeah.
it's $200 to start.
Nice. Nice. So who else is using AI? Paul.
Yesterday, when Ryan sold his thing came up,
Yeah.
I had no idea who that was. Of course, I asked ChatGPT, who is that? And then he gave me this pretty long bio, and I said, okay, what do I need to learn from this person? And then gave me a lot of different things. So then I said, okay, here's who I am. I describe myself in character. And I said, so what do I need to know? What do I need to know from this person? And how can I learn that? Four very specific points, like three business, one personal. Like I was very clear about Ryan personally as well, and spoke to that, and then also told me where in his books and media I could find information.
That's awesome. So point one was Sally does, I'm not going to cry, but Sally does use it for virtual staging. and envisioning a new way to use a room. Paul's using it to apply a book. And I'll go into that a little bit more right now, and then I'll call on Brian. When you're, how many people listen to podcasts in the car? They're driving around trying to get smart, right? And that's great, and it puts a lot of good information, and you're processing and you're using your drive time constructively. But one of the other things you could do is take a YouTube video, take a podcast, pop it into ChatGPT, and like Paul did, say, hey, either if you've been using ChatGPT a long time, and everybody knows what ChatGPT is, I hope. Anybody doesn't? Okay, good. So you can throw it into ChatGPT and say, hey, as you use ChatGPT and more, it'll get to know you. And you can say, with what you know about me, can you find action steps out of this podcast? Can you review this YouTube link for me? And if you can't get the YouTube to pop in, you use like free YouTube to transcript.com. Then just put in free transcript from YouTube and search engine, something will pop up. But you can what I do is I transcribe YouTube videos, and then I throw the transcript into ChatGPT, and I say, I don't have an hour. I don't know if what this person's teaching on YouTube is worth $10,000. Right? That's a lot of money. And a lot of that video is probably going to be selling something, or fluff, or filler, or something like that. I'm like, I don't want to waste that kind of time. So like Paul does, I say, can you take this transcript and apply it to my business? How can I solve XYZ problem with this? How can I move this forward? Apply it. Give me 3 action steps for today on how I could apply this. Or if you're heading into a negotiation, and you can actually use your phone for this too, you can use the little microphone button in the app, speak into it and say, hey, I'm about to, hands-free, because we're all doing that. And nobody's speaking into their phone, sorry. Wrong visual, wrong era, I'm old. But if you're driving somewhere and you click hands-free, you click the microphone, you say, hey, I'm heading into a negotiation. Here's what we're trying to do. What people are you trained on for negotiating? And it might pull up, well, I'm trained on, never split the difference. Okay, great. Well, can you apply never split the difference to this situation and coach me on how I can get the result I want? Because you might have read Never Split the Difference, but to actually have the wisdom in the moment to remember chapter 14, line 9, right, on page 89, like that was the thing you needed to remember from the book. I mean, apart from the one guy on that legal show that has like photographic memory, apart from, what was that show? Suits. Apart from that guy, I don't know anybody that could actually do that in real life. But when you can say, hey, apply this to my situation, give me the action steps, help me get the outcome I want. Or I have to go talk to my seller about dropping their price. We saw the pricing trends on Mark's graphs, right? Like, only 35% of the market are actually properly priced or go for above list. So for the other 65% or whatever the math is, that we're trying to figure that out, like we're going to have to go in and have those hard conversations. Hey, ChatGPT, who are you trained on? I'm really needing to do a price negotiation. I'm not in the right headspace. My dog threw up on the carpet this morning. My kid yelled at me walking out the door, and I'm supposed to suit up and go and have this ultra polished conversation, and my head's a mess, right? So ChatGPT on the drive over, rather than listening to a podcast, can you coach me to get in the right headspace for how to approach this pricing negotiation? So that's number 2. Brian. So you're saying he knows your heart, knows your voice, knows your style? Yeah. And so having ChatGPT know your heart, know your style, know how to speak like you. Has anyone ever received a Facebook ad like, how to get ChatGPT to talk like you, $49? All right, I'm going to teach you that in like 3 seconds, save you $50. Is that fair? So there are a couple of different ways to do that, to get it to sound like you, like Brian does, or like Kai does. Kai in Hawaii said, hey, look, English isn't my native language. For me to write blog posts, I really needed to be able to step up my game. And he is now writing, I think he said that he wrote like 100 blog posts last year. It's really boosted his website, really boosted his SEO, and he's getting business out of it. So like, I know a lot of us have websites, and not all of them are SEO, not all of them, I think he actually said he was found in ChatGPT as a realtor in Hawaii. And why is that? So number 4 way to do it is to get found in an AI search engine as the realtor in your market. So the way Kai did that, writing in his authentic voice like Brian does, is he started writing blog posts. And by posting like 100 blog posts last year, AI, just like a Google search engine used to and still does, but AI says, wow, this is fresh content. This is feeding my algorithm. This is feeding my statistics and probabilities. And I need to learn about this. This person seems like a real local expert. And so now when someone says, hey, realtor in Hawaii, they're like, oh, I just read about that. That's Kai. Right? And so that's how that happens. But how to get AI to sound like you, there are a couple of different ways. So if we're going to implement Brian's technique right now, you can either take like a few emails you've written, a few blog posts you've written, and you can pull them all together. You can upload to ChatGPT using, let me shrink this back down a little bit. There is a plus button here, and you can add photos and files. So you can either upload a text file, a Word file, a PDF, or you can just copy and paste and drop in a whole ton of stuff. The other day, I was working on one of my books. I dumped a 300-page PDF into ChatGPT using that plus button, and it analyzed it in 15 seconds. It was just insane how good it's gotten.
I was going to share, I'm working with, on
Dia, can I get back to that in just 1 second?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. No, I want to hear that. So we can upload. You can upload your voice, or you can copy and paste. Maybe drop in like 3 to 5 emails. And Dia, it's just because I'll forget what I was saying. So you can drop in like 3 to 5 emails. Drop in 2 to 4 blog posts, and you can say, "Hey, ChatGPT, create a prompt that will write in this style. Analyze this work, right?" So create a prompt that will write in this style. And it might say, oh, it took, chat, and then it'll come out with this prompt, and it'll say, hey, write in a style that's informal but polished, slightly humorous with a sarcastic bent, right? It'll read your emails. And then you can look at it and say, you know what, I'm from Texas, I say y'all every other sentence. And so it'll say, and then it'll revise the prompt. And you can say, well, that still doesn't sound like me. How about, I also mentioned Jonah, my dog, a lot, right? Little Texas shout out there. So I do whatever, right? You throw in a little bit about yourself, because it's not going to come out right the first time, but when you iterate on it, when you play with it, when you experiment with it a little bit, you can get it to sound right the second or third time. So that's one way to do it. Yeah.
And tell another example to share, that I had a buyer that I've been working with for about a month, and they were ready to buy, and they were expats, and they connected with their accountant in Texas, who said, "No, you shouldn't buy in Vermont, and here are the 3 reasons why." So, a lot of time into this, and I popped into actually it was Perplexity. Download a bunch of Vermont legal documents for the state, and asked my question, and I got a brief summary with sources, and sent it back to the buyer, who sent it to his accountant, and the accountant said, "I give you the green light to buy."
Wow.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So Perplexity.ai was a tool Dia used. Perplexity.ai is, I use it for research. I use it for summarizing the news. Because I don't know about you, but the past 12 years of news has just depressed the hell out of me. It has. And so I used to watch Fox and CNN. I wanted to watch the right and the left and the left and the right, and I'd watch them debate, and it was in my car, it was in my house, it was all over the place. And I finally realized, I was not designed as a human organic being to carry the weight of the world. right? I can't carry all the negativity, all the floods, all the earthquakes, all the dum-dums doing whatever they're doing. Like I can't, and all the evil, I can't handle it. And so I put the news away. But now what I can do so that I can stay fresh, I'm not really like totally blanking out of the cocktail party or looking like I don't know what's going on in front of a client. I can go into perplexity.ai and I say, hey, tell me what's going on with tariffs this week. Or tell me what's going on with trade wars with China this week. Or tell me what's going on in whatever, right? And it'll give me a little summary, but it also gives me like 20 to 25 citations of where it found all that information. So if I do want to take a quick little skim or a deeper dive, I can either ask perplexity.ai, hey, can we go a little deeper on that? And it will. Or I can jump out to one of those resources. I sometimes use it when I usually have like 3 tabs open, well, 169, but who's counting? So 3 AI tabs open, and one of them, like 15 ChatGPT tabs. But anyway, so I'll have ChatGPT, I'll have Claude.ai, and I'll have Perplexity.ai. So kind of point number 6 is I use different AI for different things. So ChatGPT, I'm coming up with like standard operating procedures. I'm brainstorming, I'm thinking, I'm getting outlines, I'm doing something like that. Short form review of whatever. But if I want to write something longer, or if I want to take something like from ChatGPT and make it sound a little less AI-ish, I'll bring it over to Claude and I'll say, hey Claude, can you rewrite this? Here's the prompt that captured my tone, like we just learned with Brian. Here's the prompt that captures my tone. With this tone, can you rewrite this article for this audience? And then it'll kind of polish it up a little bit.
I personally find it overwhelming which task, which resource. Sora now does images, there's some that'll do short form video. You can take a chart and transcribe it to text. Is there a place for newbies like me to say, very simple, this is the best resource for this kind of application, so we can see it all?
Yeah, just stick, as a newbie, just stick to ChatGPT. It does so much. Now there are specialized tools that do other things. Yeah. So there are specialized tools that do specialized things. And I can go over like 50 plus tools in the second hour if you guys want me to, or I could just send you a little PDF list and you can just go down through it, all categorized and stuff, because I've got that list all printed out too. But if my day-to-day, like 80% of my AI time is spent in ChatGPT. Why? Because I grew up in it, right? Like my AI life, my 2.5-year AI life, I grew up in ChatGPT. And so while all of these other things were developing and I learned about them, and I'm like, hey, if I want to take a vacation, I'm going to San Diego, I'm going to Mission Beach, that's just my thing. But I don't want to go there all the time. So 20% of the time, maybe I'll go to Jackson Hole. Why? It's a different purpose. I want to ski moguls. Or maybe I'll go down to the Caribbean. Why? Because I want to scuba dive. So there are specialized things you can do on other tool sites, and they do them better. But ChatGPT's image creation, for example, this year, point number 7, if that's what we're on, ChatGPT's image creation used to rely on DALL-E. DALL-E is Microsoft. Microsoft is like a couple $100 million backer of ChatGPT, which is owned by OpenAI. So DALL-E was good-ish. It was great because no one had ever been able to do image generation before with AI. But then ChatGPT this year said, hey, you know what? Everything looks a little bit cartoonish. All the words come out misspelled. We kind of want something better. So they developed something that actually has a really fantastic image creator. And we'll go into that in just a little bit. Paul?
You might be able to just ask ChatGPT which AI.
And you can, and it does tell you, but you might find better ones too. But that's point number 8. Paul brings up is I use ChatGPT as my sidekick for just about everything.
Search.
I don't search Google anymore. Unfortunately, Google now has Gemini. Gemini is Google's AI. And why is that a good one? Well, Gemini, as an AI tool, is by Google, which is by Alphabet, which also owns YouTube. So between Google and YouTube, you think Gemini has a lot of information in its database as far as how it's trained. And it's a lot of factual stuff. It's a lot of categorized stuff. So maybe you want to go out to Gemini if you're point number 9, building a persona. And you might notice I'm teaching this class a little bit differently than last year. Last year I was on slides. I had everything pre-planned. And I was like, here's all the AI fancy stuff. Apply it to your business. This time I want to say, here's your business. Let's raise it up with AI. And that's what I was talking about yesterday on stage. We're going to go bottom up.
We tend to use Copilot for some of our descriptions, and it resides on our platform, the company. But how would you compare use Copilot in the prompting process to get to the flow versus ChatGPT or Claude?
I'll get to that in 1 second. But great question. So Gemini, point number 10 or 11, wherever we are right now. Gemini, I might use to build a buyer persona or a seller persona. I use ChatGPT a lot for it because ChatGPT has built into it, it has web search. And you can it'll access the internet. A year and a half ago, that was like, whoa, what? Because it was only trained up till like November 2022. It was only trained up till April 2023. Now it's like, oh no, now I can access the internet. Now I'm actually smart. Now I'm currently smart, I should say. It was always wicked smart, but now I'm currently smart. So ChatGPT can search the internet, which is great. Perplexity searches the internet. Gemini searches the internet. Gemini also has Google. So it might have a little more like facts because it's been searching the internet longer, searching it deeper. It became the dominant search engine in the world. So if you're building a persona, why do we do that? I'm going to build a persona because, again, I'm not a professional marketer. I have an MBA in marketing. I have a law degree. Don't know how many of you know that. I went and practiced law for 3 years. But even though I have an MBA in marketing, I don't remember everything I learned in 1997 to 2000 when I went to school, right? And I don't remember, and by the way, marketing has evolved in the past 25 years. So I might go in and say, hey, ChatGPT, who are you trained on for marketing? And we'll get into that in a second. But from a persona perspective, I used to teach, hey, ChatGPT, this is what I'm trying to do, this is who you are, this is how you're trying to write, this is what, prompt engineering. That's all gone. Point number 12 that I'm going to tie to point 11 is when you're trying to create a prompt, type in all the gobbledygook of what you're trying to do. If you don't like to type, use the microphone button. Speak in all the gobbledygook of what you're trying to do, Joan. Right? You're just like, hey, I'm trying to do blah, 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 right? I want to create a buyer persona for Denver, Colorado, Washington Park neighborhood 80209. I'm trying to figure out who the $2 to $6 million buyers are that have like replaced our $600,000 buyers from 10 years ago. Like there is a new influx of wealth into this neighborhood. What the Sam? I don't know them, but I want to specialize in this neighborhood. And I remember years ago, I think it was Jennifer Egbert from Boulder said, hey, when I developed an avatar for my business, her business took off. And homegirl crushes it. She's doing an amazing business. She does like a couple $100,000 referrals alone a year. She's really crushing it. But she really refined her avatar. And I said, Jennifer, can you please share with me how you did that? And being a Realm member, she's like, of course, Rick, here's my 40-page PDF or something like that. And I answered all these questions about my consumer. Where they go buy coffee, what books they like to read, what are their leisure activities, what are their dreams, their hopes, their fears, their desires. And I looked at her, I was like, this is great, I am screwed. Because if I already owned a $6 million house, if I traveled with the $6 million people, I'd know where to find them, I'd be able to sit down with them, and over the course of 3 or 4 or 6 months, I could develop that working persona, and then I have to remember it all, and put it into all my writing, and I'd have to put it into all of my copy, I'd have to put it into all my blogs, like, how do I address the hopes and fears and dreams and desires of Water Park, which might be slightly different from Cherry Creek, which is like 2 miles away, but it's more condos and townhomes, which is different from single families and needing backyards and kids and dogs. So I was like, that was great, but how do I apply that? Now with AI, I can say, hey, gobbledygook. I'm trying to create a buyer persona or a seller persona, trying to find the listings in Wash Park. And it's 80209, it's Denver. I need to know all about this person. And then I go back up to the beginning of that, right, in the chat box here. I go back up to the beginning of that and I say, please create a prompt that does, and then I take out that I'm trying to do, right? And then it's going to kick out a prompt. Let's do that, for example. And by the way, anybody who came in late, this tinyurl.com/ricksva, that's a way you can implement what Chad Willerson was talking about offloading stuff. And if you go on there, I told everybody that came in early, I'm in a little bit of a bet with somebody. I bet I could get 20 appointments out of this room of people just taking a look, having a free consultation. Here's my business. What does a VA look like for me? Which VA should I hire? Do I hire an EA, a video sales manager, a social media manager, whatever? So if you go to tinyurl.com/ricksva, that will take care of that. And you can just book that appointment, and it's free and no obligation. So I am trying to create a buyer persona for Zip 80209. Let's go seller. Seller persona for Zip 80209. And then I go back to the beginning. I'm going to be real shorthand with this. And then I'll say, I'm trying to, but now I say, please create a prompt. You can misspell, but I'm just too type A. That will create, and I'm typing without my reading glasses, that's smart. We'll create a seller persona for zip code 80209. And now what it does is I would have said, create a seller persona for zip code 80209. And it would have done whatever. But now I'm getting the prompt that creates the seller persona. And it's going to go deep. It's going to demographics, psychographics, motivation. It's going to talk about property profiles, goals, pain points, decision-making criteria, communication and marketing preferences, local marketing sites. And so I'm going to take this little button right here, which is the square over square. That's copy. And then what I like to do, because I like to keep my chats kind of clean, because I want it to remember, it's on task. It remembers what it's talking about. It remembers this chat thread. And anything in this vertical right now is a chat thread. So I'll go back up here to this pencil, which is edit, and I'll just delete this. I'm going to paste this in here, hit send, and now it's going to delete everything after that. But now it's going to create that buyer persona while keeping my chat thread clean. It's not going to be confused like, oh, this is the chat thread where we're writing prompts. No. I want to stay on point with this chat thread. So now I'm going in, and it's going to run this prompt. No, it's not. So sometimes, because I said, here's what we're ready to try, So that's my bad. User error, when you're not looking at what you're doing. Pencil, go back up. I left in the here it is. So now I'm going to say create a comprehensive. And now what it's going to do is instead of me saying, can you just create a persona, it created the prompt that's creating a persona. And now it's going to go dive deep on that. So it's thinking, I'm in 04 mini, which I should have been in 04, but I'll get into that in a second. But because I'm using 04 mini, which is one of the more advanced ones, it's going a little bit deeper. And it actually thought for 60 seconds. What does that look like? Here's what it was trying to do. The user requested this. I'm going to try to find up-to-date information. I need to gather more information. I searched the web. I'm looking into demographic and real estate data. And it took it 16 seconds to do that. But now I know a narrative of Alexandra and Michael, the dinks in their early 40s. I know the demographics, their psychographics and motivations, their property profile, their goals, their pain points, decision-making criteria, all of this, which is more than I would have gotten if I had actually written my own prompt.
Can you scroll down to the marketing stuff a little bit?
Sure.
Cool. Great. Thank you.
So bullet point highlights for listing agents. Here's a communication playbook, overcoming objections, and then it tells you where the sources are. So I put in there, I said, hey, I'm gobbledygook, right? I'm trying to create a seller persona for this neighborhood. Go back up to the beginning of it. Please create a prompt that will do gobbledygook. It created the prompt. I copied the prompt. I put it back up in my, just because of the way I work, I put it back up in my original one. I took out the I'm trying to create a prompt one, and I took the prompt, I put it back in the top, and then I hit enter, and I had to execute a far better prompt than I would have written. And then executing that prompt, it gives me much better detail. Because what I used to teach was if you give it a really, really good prompt, you'll get really, really good information. So if you're not getting what you want, iterate, change the prompt. But ChatGPT is so good now, I can have it create its own prompts, and they're better prompts than I would make. So you make it think for you. Now you can also take that prompt and run it in Gemini. And have Gemini come up with a seller persona for Wash Park. And then you look at the two, and because you're the human in the loop, and because you're the expert that actually knows that area, you can say, well, you know what, it referenced a bookstore in Littleton. Like, that's nowhere near. Like, do they go over there? Like, why did you reference that? Or you can say, like, hey, they don't really all have dogs. It's only half of them have dogs. Wash Park's very dog-headed. But you can go in there and you can refine it. Or you can take the two, take the Gemini one, put it into ChatGPT, and say compare and contrast, merge them as appropriate. And now you have two AI engines working together to be wicked smart, and then you save that somewhere. You say, okay, now you use that little square over square button, copy, paste it over somewhere, and you start building seller personas. And you just get a whole folder. And again, you should not be doing this, your VA should be doing this. But if you want to, I'm teaching you how to do this. So you take this whole folder of buyer personas and seller personas, and now when you're writing an email, you say, I'm writing to this person. Now you can appeal to that person, their hopes, their dreams, their desires, the fact that thinks they're engineers. Without violating fair housing guidelines, you can write to them in a way that they feel understood. And one of our speakers said, I think it was Mark, it's one-to-one marketing, not one-to-many. This allows you to write one-to-one much faster. Paul? Okay. So point number 13, I think we're up to 12 or 13. When I'm writing an email, or when I'm writing a blog post, I'll say, well, the way we used to do this, and you might have been trained on this, and I might have even said this last year, was act like a professional copywriter. Who's done that before, right? Like tell ChatGPT who it is and what you're trying to get out of it. And you want to write in a professional tone and trying to be blah, 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 blah. But now I'm like, if I'm writing an email letter, let's put this in. Do this live here. So I'm going to go back up to the top. I'm just going to keep blitzing the same one here. So I'll just take this and nuke it out. If you want to, you can start a new chat, and that's with this little button up here in the top left. And if you click this button, that opens and closes your sidebar that has all of your stuff in it. But I'm going to say, I am writing a direct, I'm writing an email campaign to sellers in Wash Park. Before I forget, I'm going to copy this little profile because we're going to use it later. Who are you trained on that for this task? And so ChatGPT is going to tell me, I'm trained on Dan Kennedy, direct email marketer guru. I'm trained on Russell Brunson, who does ClickFunnels and all that. I'm trained on David Ogilvy. I'm guessing. Did something else? So I'm trained. This says I'm trained on Katie Lance's community first email approach to Ryan Serthan's persuasive high energy sales style, Marky Lemon Ryle's storytelling flair, Chelsea Pizza's data-driven local market insights. I'm also influenced by the classic frameworks like the 16-word sales letter, best practices. So I'm going to switch back into Chat 4.0 here, and you can trade between all the different models in this top left, and we'll go over what those all mean. But for most tasks, Chat 4.0 is great. So I say, well, I am writing to the seller persona below. Who would you use and why? Or would you blend? And so I'm asking ChatGPT, don't act as a professional copywriter. You're trained on billions and billions and billions of web pages and words and tasks and documents, right? You know better than I do who I should pick from to write to this audience. So now ChatGPT is going to say, well, for this audience, primarily Jonah Weedy. She's from Copy Hackers. But add a little Katie Lance for lifestyle, community-centric tone. Blend in some high-achieving appeal from Ryan Serhant, and drop in like overly casual or drop over casually over explaining tones. So here's a sample tone blend. And it's going to give me, and every time it's going to come back to you, it's going to come back a little different. It doesn't always give me a sample tone blend. but it's writing an email for me showing me what that blend would look like. Like, do I like this? I could also just say, hey, can you write a prompt? Then we'll write in this blended style. I like this. But now I've got Ryan Serhant's high energy. I'm dropping those things that I shouldn't do. I'm introducing the community tones of the other one. I'm incorporating the copy hackers person that's doing XYZ. And that gives you a more well-rounded email. Because you can take Ryan Serhant's course, and the guy's a genius. Shout out, Ryan. Guy's a genius, right? So Ryan Serhant is fantastic at marketing. And as one of the speakers said, again, I think it was Mark, I'm quoting Mark a lot, but Mark was like, the guy is bold on his brand and he knows what he's about. He's authoritative. But even if I took his $1,000 course or went to one of his $10,000 private dinners at his condo in New York, I'm still not going to remember in the moment how to write like that. And this is what that allows you to do.
Question for you, Rick. Last time I was online, it gave me what looked almost like apps, like in the marketing sphere. Okay, you're trained on Dan Kennedy and all these different things. That sounds like a better way to go though, because then you're not choosing one course, you get the blended.
I like doing the blend. Yeah, I like doing the blend. So point number 14, going from copywriting like this, I might go over to marketing. And so I'll say, I'm trying to write. I'm going to pause for a second. Does this part make sense
Yes.
to do that? And is that different than you've learned somewhere else before?
Yes.
I like.
Also have saved this as an avatar that we have, like once this is done.
So you're going to copy, like I copy and paste those personas out to like a text file. And so I'll just have a library, and I can upload that to Google Drive so my VA can access it. And I say, anytime you're writing to somebody, go into my Google Drive, here's my persona folder, and there's all the neighborhoods, all the price points, buyer, seller. I started it out, I gave my VA a prompt, and now my VA just creates like 40 or 60 personas for all the different neighborhoods. Why? Because that's not $10,000 an hour work. So figure out how to do it and delegate it. So when you're working on, going back to Paul's point, like he heard a book in the speech, and while he's listening to the speech, because he's brilliant, he can multitask, and he said, how do I apply this book to my business while I'm in this seminar and actually achieve something and get something out of this? So one of the things I've done is like with marketing. StoryBrand is a big marketing thing. Are people familiar with StoryBrand?
Yeah.
The whole concept basically is you make the customer the hero of the journey. It's not sitting out there like a gorilla saying, I'm number one. It's you go in and you say, no, the customer's number one. And the customer's the hero of the journey, and being a gorilla breaks your watch. So being a gorilla doesn't work anymore. StoryBrand says make the customer the hero of the journey. And I attended some webinar last week, and for like $2,500, you can become a StoryBrand certified expert. Great. And if you want to spend 20 hours on that course and $4,000 or whatever it costs, great. But I can also go into ChatGPT and say, are you trained on StoryBrand? And it says, yes. Are you trained on StoryBrand 2.0, which incorporates a little more AI? Yes. Okay, great. Can you create, let's do this. I keep forgetting I have a computer right here. That's kind of weird, right? So I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to say, please, I've got to use the screen because Aaron just set it up for me this morning. Thank you, Aaron. So please, so I'm going to say, are you trained on StoryBrand? And StoryBrand 2.0. And I could throw a question mark in there, but when I'm teaching in class, I typically don't. So yes, I'm trained on both the original and the more updated. Oh my gosh, the 2.0 hasn't been out that long, it's already trained on it. So it's going to do a quick little outline. Character has a problem, meets a guide, you, who gives them a plan, calls them to action, helps them avoid their failure, and ends in success. Here's how it's updated for 2.0. And that's all well and good. And I could say, okay, please teach me this methodology, I might say, in 1,000 words or less, and apply it to my real estate business. I'd say my business is, but I've got like 7 businesses. So now it's going to tell me, and it's going to apply the book to me. So if I want to do a little crash course, I'm I'm going to get Donald Miller's StoryBrand personalized to me. Now, have you ever seen the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Guy Kawasaki? Whatever. By Rich Dad Poor Dad, by some dude. So Rich Dad Poor Dad also has like the real estate edition, right? And somebody took that and said, I'm going to write a forward, I'm going to write an intro for realtors, and I might change a couple of the examples. Well, now you can take just about any book on the planet and say, I want this tailored not just to realtors, I want it tailored to me. Because it's me, one-to-one marketing, one-to-one authors. And so I go in here and I say, can you teach me how to apply StoryBrand framework in real estate terms? So here's the character, here's the problem, and I'm recording my screen, by the way, on Zoom, and I'm going to send this out to everybody. Because I realized taking pictures of this, even a video, this isn't going to work very well. So I'm experimenting with this. The other thing I'm doing, point 14, if that's what we're on, I'm ottering this at the same time, and I'll tell you why I'm doing that. So this is now telling me how to apply StoryBrand to my business. And guess what I can do with that? I can pop in my little persona and say, hey, I am writing to pop that back in, the seller below, please help me create a USP. So I'm still just gonna, well, it's still working actually. That's why it's the square button down there. So it's go in, sample email sequence, sample lead magnet, example home copy page, example one-liner. I asked it for 1,000 words and it's like, no, dude, I got your back. I already know you. I'm gonna go way overboard and overperform. So it applied it to real estate. It gave me my elevator pitch. I help Denver homeowners sell high-end properties with confidence, clarity, zero chaos. Did we hear chaos yesterday? Kathleen Black? So they can move forward without second guessing their strategy. Use this where? Linked in bio, top of your website. Here's my homepage copy. Wireframe style. Here's a header, subtext, call to action. It's giving me a sample lead magnet. Denver Luxury Seller's Guide. 7 smart moves before you list. To build your list with high intent seller leads. Here's the email sequence to follow up on that. Here are the power moves. Here's how you do a video script. Is this helpful rather than just reading a book? People are like, Rick, did you read that book? I'm like, no, I popped it into ChatGPT. I did it in 15 seconds. Let's go. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? So now I'm going to say, well, can you help me create a USP? Well, it already did. So what would somebody like to create for this home seller? Just shout it out.
Direct mail piece.
Direct mail piece. All right. So please create a StoryBrand email campaign to convince the seller persona below that it's a great time to sell a house.
Does ChatGPT care whether you use read exercise?
So it actually, I read an article like using please and thank you is costing these AI companies millions of dollars. Because it has to process all the little 4-bit, 1-bit characters, and so it has to read please, it has to read thank you. It's also wasting a lot of water from cooling all the data centers. It's using a lot of power. So while we're thinking like, hey, using please, I got trained to use please and thank you, but I'm actually destroying the environment by doing it. So it's unfortunate. Yeah, it's kind of interesting little stuff that. But so it's going to write this whole email campaign for me. Now, if we remember back a couple of minutes ago, we could also drop in the prompt we created that incorporated the storycraft, that incorporated the Ryan Serhant, all of that. And we could say, hey, let's take all of these smart people, apply StoryBrand to this persona. See how it's built? Kind of stacks. Ashley? Here's the prompt. Here's the only one you need to learn. I used to do that. And if any of you have seen a Facebook ad, because now Facebook's heard that on your Siri, right? Siri told Facebook, the Facebook algorithm's going to start popping up ads, buy a prompt pack, right? And when ChatGPT first came out, like a few millionaires were made selling prompt packs. Here are 50 prompts to do this, 500 prompts to do that, 1,000 prompts to do that. That is all now a complete waste of money. And if I were to give you a prompt pack, it would be a complete disservice to you as well. So ChatGPT now is so good at prompting, actually, that you just say gobbledygook, Go back to the beginning. Please create a prompt that. Aaron, I'm talking to Ashley.
Oh, sorry.
ChatGPT, teach me how to burn someone like Aaron burns on stage. I practiced that one earlier. No, I'm just kidding. So that's what I do. I type in gobbledygook, go back to the beginning, please create a prompt that will achieve my specific goals, dreams, desires, objectives, whatever you typed in there. ChatGPT will give you the prompt, and now you copy that back in and run that prompt. Because now you're going to get a prompt you actually want. And so I'm really tired of seeing these prompt hackers go, hey, buy this pack, and here are the 1,000 prompts I use for business marketing and direct mail. Like, that doesn't matter. And they're just laughing all the way to the bank because they said, what did they do? ChatGPT, please give me 1,000 prompts for direct mail marketing. They spit something out in 25 seconds, put it on a Facebook ad for $9. They're getting leads generated at $3 a lead. They're selling it for $9. And they're making 3x ROI and just going, sucker!
In terms of the prompts, option one is you're giving the prompt and you're asking, you're putting gobbledygook, you're asking for a prompt.
Yep.
If you could define the difference between that and why that's better when you hear it versus I gave you some gobbledygook, I gave you some stuff, and I'm asking just in plain English, why should you mean that or one more of this?
You can do that. Yeah.
And
So,
what's the benefit to one or the other? Because I think it can seem confusing a little bit, so I've got to come up with a prompt.
yeah.
And what does that language look like in on the right or wrong situation versus how do I just keep asking it more refining questions?
Yeah, so Tony said, if you're typing in gobbledygook, and then you say, please create a prompt that, and a prompt comes out, can you play with that prompt? And the answer is 100% yes. So don't take it as like, it's going to get you 80% of the way there, 85% of the way there. That's really all we're trying to do. We're never asking, and please hear this, we're never asking ChatGPT or AI to be 100% accurate. We're never asking it to give us the copy we're actually going to send to the client. We're never asking it for the copy we're going to put on our blog without reviewing it, putting in our personal and professional pixie dust. Because the human needs to stay in the loop. And so whether your VA is using AI or your assistant's using AI here in the States or whether you're using AI, and I won't take offense by anybody leaving. I know we've got flights. Good to see you, Stephanie. Bye. Are you not leaving? All right, well, see you soon.
Bye, Stephanie.
Everybody say bye, Stephanie from Aspen. You're amazing. You're welcome.
Nothing to see here.
I'm really channeling my inner Aaron right now. I'm loving this. So where were we? So iterating on prompts. So it gives you the prompt, and then you can either copy and paste it directly and then refine the output, or you can take a look at the prompt and say, well, that didn't quite get me all the way there, and then type in like, hey, I'm aiming for a little bit more of this, I'm aiming for a little bit more of that, throw a little bit more spice, throw a little more thyme or basil. I'm making spaghetti, not lasagna, I want a little more oregano. Right? So you beef it up a little bit. You can add it because you're the chef that's tasting the recipe. And so you still have to go in and you have to sample the food before you give it to the customer. Use a clean spoon.
That's a good analogy, that whole thing.
Thank you. Used to work in the restaurant business.
Do we need to make agents?
I'll make that point to like 16 or 17. Yeah. All right, so point 16. Do we need to make agents?
What we did last year is evolving so fast.
Yeah.
And does this smart approach eliminate the need for agents?
Yeah. So AI agents, there are a couple different ways of thinking about what an AI agent is. I'm going to like dumb this down for a second, not because you guys are dumb, but because I am have to think for a second. So AI agents are actually able to act autonomously. So I'm working with a developer on some software right now for avatars and avatar delivery. Avatars are like the virtual twin. That's what our company's called, trademark, virtual twin. Because wouldn't you rather have a virtual twin doing all your video marketing for you so you can be in the $10,000 lane actually selling, and your assistant can be typing up things for you to say, giving them a consistent 10-point high touch, hey, this is what Dana says to do. and Dana saw your appraisal, Dana saw your inspection, Dana saw this, the video came out, personalized touch, while you're over on a beach somewhere, they're getting that 10-point consistent contact. So that's what we're working on. But my developer, Taral, is working on true agents. True agents, the way he's building them out, you can have like a project manager, and the project manager says, here's what I'm trying to do. I need to build a sales agent, I need to build a marketing agent, I need to build a research agent, and it actually builds other agents. And then it teaches the agents how to communicate to each other. All the AI agents are doing something different. They're communicating, they're sharing information, going back to the manager for review, back down, boom. And at the end of it, you get all this wonderful product, right? So when a lead comes in, all of this happens in the background. Now your client's been researched, the copy's been written, it's already done all the StoryBrand, it's done all that stuff behind the scenes, and you just get the outcome in a video. That's a true agent. What a lot of people are seeing are custom GPTs. So we'll take this to point 17.
That's what I meant.
So a custom GPT, if you go up here to your avatar, well, not your your little buyer head or whatever, your little thing. Because I just used avatar one way, I don't want to use it two ways in the same sentence. That'd be awkward. So you go over here to my GPTs, and you can create a GPT. Now, what is a GPT? A GPT is like your own little digital virtual person. So anything, I think we're on point 17, custom GPTs, and I keep saying that for my Otter, which will be point 18. Anything we're doing in a custom, anything I'm going to do more than once, I want to build a custom GPT around. So what is a custom GPT? And you're going to love this because I got a lot of pitching analogies for this. So in a custom GPT, if I'm writing a listing description, are you going to do that more than once?
Yes.
Yep. If I'm writing an email response to an inspection letter, am I going to do that more than once? Yeah. If I'm going to delegate something, do I want someone to do it exactly like I'm going to do it? If we're going to do what Chuck Lurch and says, and actually double our life and double our income, or double our time off and double our income, we have to delegate some of this. I need to make sure that what I do is done the way I do it when someone else is doing it. And it used to be really, really hard to delegate because I was like, oh my God, I could just do it so much better myself, right? If I have to sit here and write this out and then teach somebody, I'm going to cry. And so I would rather just spend 20 minutes and do it myself. Yes, it cost me $3,333. Yeah, $10,000. So 20 minutes cost me a lot of money, but it was so much easier emotionally than going through all the time of trying to teach someone delegating. But it's now to the point where I can actually build a custom GPT to do something faster than I can actually do it myself. And now that I've got a custom GPT built, which is a little digital virtual person, essentially, I'm going to build a marketing GPT. I'm going to build a listing GPT. I'm going to do all this stuff. And don't worry, I actually already did all this for you. That'll be point like 20 or 22. But with the custom GPTs, it's like I want to just build this so that it's going to do it consistently. So let's just kind of build one together. And there are two ways to do this. One is I can go in and I can say create a GPT. And if I'm in the create tab on the left, and I just say, hey, ChatGPT, I want to build a lot of people have said, oh, even Realtor Magazine said, 70% of agents use AI to write listing descriptions. So I could go in and I could do, I want to create a GPT that, it's also hard to speak, type, look at you. No, I want to create a GPT that writes listing descriptions. I'm going to teach you 3 ways to do this. This is the worst way to do it, so don't take notes yet. So this is the easy button way, though. Like Sally says, hey, I'm not really used to AI. What's the easy way? Well, this is the easy way. And this is like kindergarten way of doing it. This is like, okay, elementary. Let's go elementary school, because it can get pretty advanced. So it's updating GPT, and I want to write listing descriptions. And I could go into a little more detail for as a residential realtor and all that stuff. So it's actually writing right now instructions for how it's actually going to do that. And it's writing instructions for me, and it's going to name it. If I went to a marketing agency, just naming this GPT would cost $500. So let's pick a name. Listing Pro Writer? Sure, sounds great. Boop, 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 boop. So sure. And so it's going to name it. Apparently there's an EV that can really pop up on your screen all the time. So now it's going to create a little icon for me. Graphic designer, $1,500. ChatGPT is going to just give me a little icon so I can remember which ChatGPT this is. And it's going to create a little profile picture for me. So this way you can see it's faster and it's cheaper than using like an outside marketing agency. Sorry, I keep dropping into that. But does that look like something I might, this will remind me I'm writing a listing description. Sure, that looks great. So I'm going to say, looks great. So now it's going to show me when I go to that list of all my custom GPTs, I recognize that icon because of the house and a little pencil. I don't know why there's a shopping cart, I guess because someone's buying a house. Might fire that graphic designer, right? You're buying a house with a lot of homeless people near a grocery store and they keep leaving shopping carts. So now it said it's already built it for me. And so if I go over to the configure tab, it's written all these instructions for how that ChatGPT should work. So if I don't know, and it's got some conversation starters, write a real estate listing for this property, create an Etsy product description for it. What? 86, that one. Make an Amazon listing. Nope. Improve this Airbnb listing description. Nope. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to get rid of all those and just say, hey, how about just get started? Let's go with that one, right? And I'll hit this create button. And now I have, as someone who has no idea how to code, who just knows how to type like 6 or 7 words in English or any other language, because ChatGPT is global, my Italian friend, I can just type in a few words and drop it in, and now I've got a tool built. Like, you're all AI coders now. How cool is that, right? You can just put that on your resume. I'm an AI coder. I build custom GPTs. Build 2 of these, now you can put plural, right? So now I build custom GPTs. So that's that. But you can see it's like Amazon and Etsy didn't really get it right. So what I like to do is I'm going to just blow this out. But you remember, I only said listing description. So whose fault is it, ChatGPT's or mine? I didn't say for residential homes. I said a listing description. Etsy has listing descriptions. Amazon has listing descriptions. Whose fault was it? Mine. So now I'm going to say, I'm going to delete all of this. I'm going to say only real estate or residential real estate, high-end luxury real estate. But that's not probably going to be good enough, is it? Because I don't have fair housing guidelines in here. Is anybody worried about breaking, kind of violating those, getting a fine for that, or just being a bad person because you're violating that, right? Having someone in the office look at you going, "Girl, I can't believe you did that." So this doesn't really get you far enough. So what I might do in this case is I want these instructions I view as kind of the recipe. We're going to go back to the restaurant analogy. Over here on the right, in the preview window, that's the dining room. Down here in the knowledge base, where you can upload files, that's where your line cooks go to school. So I want my line cooks, I used to work at a high-end restaurant. I want my cooks to learn at the mansion at Turtle Creek. I want my line cooks to go to the Culinary Institute of America. Not to be CIA agents, but to be chefs. Right? I want them to learn from someplace really good. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to work with ChatGPT, I'm going to work with Perplexity, I'm going to work with Gemini, whatever your choosing workflow is. And I mention all of those, not to confuse Sally, who asked me for a concise list, but because some people use Android, some use iPhone. Some people who use Android use Samsung, others use different platforms, right? You might use Google's phone. So I need to make this applicable to the operating system that you guys want to use. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to say, I need to build up my knowledge base. So the first time I did this, I Google searched. Why? Because ChatGPT wasn't advanced enough yet. And then I went out and I Google searched. And I found all these lead magnets from all these companies that wanted my business on how to write a good listing description. What are some examples of good listing descriptions? Give me 10 good listing descriptions, right? And I found all these lead magnets from from like Red X and Luxury Presence, and everybody had all these wonderful articles, like all this clickbait. Lead magnets will be like 22 or 23 on the list. So I found all these lead magnets, I compiled them into one PDF, and I uploaded it to my knowledge base. And I said, I want really good examples in here. And they said, what are words that really good luxury agents use in their descriptions? And I found a couple articles. These are all really good words and language and descriptors. And so I uploaded that into my knowledge base. And they said, what things are really bad listing descriptions? Like what should I never say in a listing description? And so I uploaded that. And then I said, hey, download the Fair Housing Guidelines, upload that. So into my knowledge base, that became the Culinary Institute of America. Now my line chefs, when I give them a recipe, these guys are wicked smart, right? Because my custom GPT is going to be accessing that knowledge base, and I'm trying to imbue it with my knowledge. Now you guys are so good, you might not have to go onto the internet to find good listing descriptions. Why? Because you're wicked smart. You've been doing this for a long time. That was for anybody in Boston, right? Wicked smart. So you guys are good. You guys have written really good listing descriptions. So put in your own listing descriptions into the knowledge base. Like this is what Julie Hahn does. She's the bomb. So like I'm going to put in all of Julie Hahn's listing descriptions. Why? Because I want my future listing descriptions to sound consistent with my brand. So that's how you build up the school. Now, how do we get this part right here? Well, one thought is I'm going to go back out to ChatGPT. And I'm going to say, and this is going back to what Ashley was saying, and Tony, I am trying to write instructions for a custom GPT that will write phenomenal listing descriptions for luxury homes when I provide the address, photos, interior and exterior, and a few facts that make the home unique. I want well, let's just go there. Now I'm going to go back up to the beginning of my gobbledygook. Now I'm trying to, please create instructions for a custom GPT. Why? Because I don't need to be the best person on how to write custom instructions anymore. This is why it's faster to actually build a GPT than to actually write the listing description myself. So now it's saying, here's my luxury listing copywriter. And it's going to put in, I'm trying to generate emotionally resonant, high conversion listing descriptions for luxury homes. Here's the primary use case. Here's the workflow, the instructions. I can stop this and say, look, no emojis, because this is custom instructions and it's distracting me. So you can hit that stop button, go back up into the edit pencil and interrupt it, and it'll start regenerating something. So now it's creating custom instructions for my digital assistant. And what am I doing here? I'm creating a recipe for the line cook after I've already created the school. So I'm going to show you how to use that. So we're going to take this right now. I'm going to say, here's the purpose, the target user, input expectations, and still put emojis, but I'm not going to fight it. And granted, we haven't built the school, right? So take that into consideration when we have output here. But now I'm going to go in here, and I'm Sally. I'm still in AI elementary school. I don't know how to write this custom instruction, but I know ChatGPT can. So without being Tony and saying, I'm going to refine this, and take it to middle school or take it to high school and try to make it better, I'm just going to take it and run with it. And as it's going, it's giving examples of descriptive framing phrases to include. Here's the final custom response format. So I can take this, copy it, go back over here, and just paste it in and hit create. And I'm going to say only me, or if I have an assistant, anyone with a link. I'm going to save this. And now I can either be Tony, and I'm getting into high school level, college level AI, and I'm going to keep refining and massaging that custom instruction, or I can take that in here And now I can say I'm over, this is the preview window. It's not where I'm actually going to use it because it's not going to actually remember this. Bye. So it's not going to remember this. In the preview window, it has no memory. And nothing you do, either using the GPT or in the preview window, will ever change the custom GPT. It's an important distinction. But now I can go in here and I can go into the kitchen, or I can go into the dining room on the right here, and I can taste the food. So my line cooks up here are, I know where they went to school, they have the recipe, and now I'm going to ask anything. And I'm going to play around with it. I'm going to put in an address. I'm going to upload a few pictures. Maybe, I found that the home's been on the market before. So I found some old images on Zillow, and when I did my pre-listing interview with before I go over, my confirmation call, or my assistant called over, like, hey, I see you've been listed before. Have any of those rooms been remodeled? Have you put significant money into the kitchen or the dining room or the backyard? So I know, it might affect my property analysis. And they'll be like, oh, the kitchen's the same, the dining room's the same. Okay, great. Upload the kitchen picture, the dining room picture, maybe an exterior picture. And ChatGPT is smart enough that if you give it the words or some words, it's actually going to, or the framework and the recipe, when you're over here in the dining room, checking the quality that came out of the kitchen, it will actually read the images and describe them for you. But that's saves you time. Right? Because I can only say open light, bright kitchen so many times before I throw up. And nobody wants to read that on the MLS because it sounds like every other listing that's been listed for the past 25 years. Open floor plan, yay, chef's delight. Perfect for entertaining. Like, please stop.
Not nestled. Not nestled.
Right, nestled and charming, all these things.
No boasting. A house cannot boast. It's a
Right.
inherent object.
So you can throw in what you're gonna put in your instructions or what you put in the culinary school is all the stuff that makes you throw up from other agents, right? Like, do not do this. And brrr, right? So that you don't get all that gobbledygook in your listing descriptions. And then you can keep iterating with this, and then you keep hitting update. So when I'm tasting the food over here on the right, as a manager, I'm like, you know what? That does need more oregano. And I go back up into the recipe here, and that's where I act like Tony, and I say, I'm going to change the recipe. I don't really I don't want a 180 word description. My MLS goes up to 2,500 characters. So please make my description between 2,300 and 2,500 characters, and tell me how many characters you used. Because it might go 1,600. I'm like, that wasn't right. So I want to max out that space if they're giving me digital real estate on an MLS description. So I'll go back in and I'll say, hey, I want to refine this. And then I hit update, and then I taste the food. And then I refine it, hit update, taste the food, refine it, update, taste the food. And then when I get it to the place I want it to be, I can give it off to my marketing assistant and say, hey, when we get a listing, put in the address, upload the pictures, spit it all out, give it, look at it, give it to me. And Alan Canis, in one of our very first classes before ChatGPT, or before these custom GPTs were even a thing, he said, Rick, you're saving me $500 per listing because I no longer have to hire a copywriter. Now, if you're doing 20, 30, 40, 100 listings a year, that money really adds up. Even if it's 10, it still adds up, right? So what Alan does is his assistants use AI to write the listing descriptions. You might spend your genius time building the custom GPT and refining it, getting it to the point that is exceptional. Now your agents, now your team, now your TCs, while you're at the breakers at the Round Global Collective, yay! When you're here, they could be uploading an address and a couple of pictures, getting you that, and maybe you spend 5 to 10 minutes refining it. Your personal professional pixie dust, your experience, your expertise, your $10,000 an hour work is now going into editing as opposed to creating. And editing is always going to be 1,000 times easier than creating.
Yeah, just following on that, a couple things. I've done that, we're into it, and we get it, and you're still starting from scratch sometimes with just this generic description. And then I'm like, oh, great, I did it, but then I still have to script on it, instead of being at 80% or 20%. Question that came up for me while you were talking was, could I be strategic and say I have a property between 4,000 and in this neighborhood in Manhattan, can you show me the last 10 properties that sold in under 30 days and read their descriptions and create a description out of those? And let me, so can I be strategic like that?
You can. You can also, I mean, if you wanted to, you could go, Tony said, can you have ChatGPT do all your comp research? I'll make that like point
So not
seven.
just the comp research,
But the description.
seeing if there's a way that certain descriptions or keywords have caused people to click or jump on that.
So Tony, would you
Right.
have to upload the multiple?
So, well, Tony was asking if you don't have to. Tony was asking if you don't have to. So ChatGPT will go onto the internet, but it's not going to be as specific as you want it to. So what I would do in that instance, because Tony asked for the Otter notes and everything else, if you could just have ChatGPT kind of go out and research what the listing descriptions were within a quarter-mile radius and pull out all those listing descriptions to see where it's kind of popped and resonated. And you already know what else I'm going to put into this custom GPT is asking for the buyer persona, and then write to that buyer persona when we're doing our listing description. So if we already have it, if we already know how to create one, if we have a custom GPT that writes buyer personas, hint, create a custom GPT that writes buyer personas. You can create a persona really quickly, hop over to tab number 2 where your listing description GPT is open, copy paste, drop over your buyer persona, and then say, hey, this is who we're writing to for this particular property. Make sure you appeal to them. Going a step further, what Tony said, is I would actually probably go in the MLS and pick my comps, because we're dealing with spending properties, right? So I would hand pick all of my comps, do a little PDF printout, and then analyze that and say, hey, look at the listing descriptions on, maybe this is point 22, we still have to cover 17 to 19 or something, but if I'm going to try to do this off the top of my head, 22 would be, analyze these listing descriptions, which ones are good and why, and how can I write in the style of the best one? Like what words are popping, what words are happening? Take the ones that have sold in 30 days or less. Why were these ones structured well? Print off the PDF with the pictures. What camera angles did they use? Were they priced? How were they priced compared to the market? What were the listing descriptions looking like? What were the words that they used? What was the style, the format? What persona did they appeal to? You can do really, really deep dive market research on your competitors, which sounds like genius to me. I love it. And I'm just ripping here, but have it, look at it. Because skipping forward to point 22, when I'm working with investors, what I'll do, does anybody work with investors? And every once in a while I just do fix and flips because people are wealthy and they want to have 15 other properties. And so a property will come off the market. I'm on all these off-market property email lists. And they are saying, wait, if we're paying you, do the analysis for me. Don't just send me a bunch of comps, because I now have to spend all this time researching it. But if I spend all my time researching the comps, that's not $10,000 an hour work. So what I've started to do is I'll quickly run 15 comps in that area, but then I say, hey, I throw the PDF up into ChatGPT. And so when the off-market listing descriptions come, it's hysterical. It's usually like a Google Drive of 60 pictures, and I don't want to download it either. So I screenshot 15 at a time. And just with copy, when I screenshot it, I go to ChatGPT, I hit Control V, and it just pastes in the whole screenshot. I scroll up, 15, paste, 15, paste. I now have 45 pictures of the target property into ChatGPT with 3 clicks. I upload the PDF of the comps, and I say, I've already created a prompt. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm trying to do an analysis for an investor. Can you create a prompt for me that analyzes this property for an investor? I grab that prompt. And now it's giving me the ARV, low, mid, and high. It's giving me a budget for kitchen. It's giving me a budget for this. It created a table that compared my property to the other comps. It adjusts the prompts like an appraiser. It tells me what my target acquisition price should be. And so now, within 5 or 10 minutes, I've fully deep dive analyzed that property. I have an email already drafted by ChatGPT telling that person why they should, yes or no. I give them a little executive summary. And then I give them the whole rest of the analysis. But in that executive summary, it says, yes, this is a go, and here's why it meets your buy box. You're going to have a $150,000 spread. You're making 25% ROI. But boom. If you're interested, read below, and I also have a link to the pictures. But now that investor knows, wow, Rick doesn't waste my time. Rick has given me a property, and the last time I did this for somebody, I got the property in at like 9:30. 10 minutes later, I shot him an email. By 11:30, he had left his office and driven to the showing. Like, it was that compelling to him because he knows how rare they are. How rare? In Denver, there were 33 buyers, and he lost by $5,000 in a sealed bid. So I was kind of bummed. But I could have made 10 grand that day and within 10 days, because they are all like cash and close in 10 days. So I would have made 10 grand in 10 days for 10 minutes worth of work. Why? Because I actually gave him the information he needed to make a decision. I asked him for his $5. I put that into ChatGPT. I'm like, does this meet his $5? Tell me how. Tell me why. And I put that in the executive summary. Hey, Mr. Investor, Mrs. Investor, this meets your $5, and here are the criteria. This is why I'm recommending this one. Do you agree? Do you want me to send you more like these? And then I throw in the full 2-page analysis. Because if I haven't wasted their time in the first 10 minutes, or seconds, like think of the emails like TikTok. You got 1 or 2 seconds to get their attention, right? This meets your $5. Here's why. All right, I'll take a look. Executive summary, okay. I'll take a sip of coffee. I'll take a deeper look. But they have their time is worth $20,000 or $30,000 now, and I can't waste their time. I have not. No.
If it was common records and it's publicly accessible, it could technically be done properly.
I wouldn't rely on it for that.
Really?
Some because all county records are kind of different. Bye, Aaron. So I wouldn't count on it for that. And every county record system is different, how they pull up information, how they store information, and all that. So play with it let me say this, play with it in your own market.
What about the people that the all the by owners and then use information by that information
I haven't said go pull all the for sale by owners, but what you can do is go to Zillow, pull all the for sale by owners, and then just copy some links in and say, analyze all of this for me. But we'll get into kind of those specific use cases in a little bit.
and then going back to the understand on your actual ChatGPT account, like where you have the custom GPTs versus prompts, because just understanding like you're building out custom GPTs, so you can always go back to them and go pop it in, but I'm trying to see.
Yeah, so when I hit update right there, it's going to then ask me if I want to go back and view the GPT. So now I'm going to go view the GPT, and it's going to look like this. It has my graphic, my description. It tells me what it does.
Is this your like home under your GPT?
No, this is like the custom GPT when I'm in it. It looks different than this, right? This is GPT. This is like ChatGPT. This is my custom GPT. It has a different home screen. I know what it looks like. Now, to get to those, I go up to my little head up here and I say My GPTs, that little drop-down list. And in My GPTs, that's where I'm accessing my whole list of all these GPTs that I've built. There's also like a GPT store. So you can go exploring around and looking at other people's GPTs. Well, yeah, there are quite a few of mine up there. The other thing I told you I was doing, and I was trying to have it ready for this conference, and I didn't, but I'll take a 47-second sidebar. I figured like a lot of people don't actually want to build these GPTs out, and they just want the easy button. How many people want the easy button and not have to learn how to do this? So I developed a company called Easy RE Button, Easy for Real Estate. So when we launch this Easy RE Button, you're not going to have to log into ChatGPT. You're not going to have to build out custom GPTs. I've already pre-packaged like 50 of my workflows. And this isn't just a custom GPT. This is like 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 stage workflows for analyzing properties or working with investors or doing a property improvement email or whatever it might be, writing out a neighborhood guide, coming up with your email, your blog post, or whatever. All you have to do is pick from the list, put in like one thing that you're actually trying to do, like specify the neighborhood or specify the address, hit the easy button, and then just keep saying yes, 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 done. And it's all done for you. You don't have to learn how to do all that. So that's going to be like $29 a month or something, but it's all like pre-packaged and done. It's a separate platform that I'm using, yeah. So it was supposed to be yesterday. So it's coming soon, but working with developers is always like a little longer than you want it to be. But I'm going to teach you how to do this because I'm not up here to sell. I'm actually just up here to give you back your time. And so take back your time however you want to take back your time. Right? Whether you work with a VA that's using AI, whether you use the easy RE button, or whether you build your own custom GPTs, it's not going to change my life really, but I really want you just to get your time back. Because that's what we're trying to do for all of our clients, and that's what we're trying to do for ourselves too.
We're working with other people, like I was a manager, for example, I want to share that. I saw that you can say, share that anyone's link. Is there somewhere where, if she created one, for example, and shared it with me, is there like a section where things that can be shared, or are you just taking all of it?
For those who are going to, I believe, I'm going to speak out again. I believe you're going to save the links, but it might pop up here. I don't have a whole lot of people to share them with me. You can also get team accounts. And so team accounts do like 2023 or something like that. But team accounts, when you go in, there's a little button up here that says upgrade your plan. And when you upgrade your plan, you can get a team account. Now, what you've been working on in your own account, I learned this the hard way, is not going to all transfer over to your team account. I wish it did. Like all your chat history, all of the stuff you've been working on. But when you're working in a team account, and let's say you're setting up, to work with 2 or 3 or 4 assistants or VAs, or working, whether they're working next to you in your office or whether they're working in the Philippines, you can set up a team account so you can see all the stuff they're doing, and they're using your ChatGPT account. It's like $20 a seat. It all goes 100% to ChatGPT. But that way all of your work kind of stays in the same huddle. And then you toggle with your little head up there in the top right, you kind of toggle back and forth between, am I in my account or the team account? Because in your account, point 24, you might be using ChatGPT as your therapist. And I've talked to a number of people here who have. And so you don't necessarily want your assistant accessing all your laundry, right? So you say, hey, that's behind closed doors over here. Let's go into the main house. And in my main house, I have my home office. Let's say right here, right? Like stick right here. And then you're not all up in your business for everything else you're using ChatGPT for. So that's where you can build a little team account. Going back a little bit to Otter.ai, you might see that popping up on a lot of Zoom calls. And that's one way to use it. And for those who don't know, Otter, Tactic, TAC, and I'll give everybody links to all these afterwards so you don't have to scribble them down. But Otter.ai is a tool that automatically takes notes for you. Because Mark Assad didn't know I was running Otter, he put his phone up here and has Otter running on it so he can have notes from this. I have Otter running through the Zoom. But what people don't know is I actually had Otter running through this entire RGC. Not when I was interacting with you guys, that'd be kind of rude. But every time a speaker was up, I started a new little Otter on my phone. I just go to Otter.ai on my phone, and there's an Otter app, OTTER, and again, I'll send links to all of this. But I have Otter running. Why? Because I want to pay attention. And I'm actually trying to find live, while I'm there, something that I'm going to resonate with. Now, some people learn by taking notes, and there's like science on this, that when you handwrite stuff, there are synapses forming in your brain, and you remember it better. Like in law school, I just started typing on my notes, and I can sit there and look at a professor and like type, And so I would just like type all these notes, and I would get like 300 pages of notes from a class, which is kind of ridiculous, but that's the way I was processing the information, and I used to go to conferences that way. And you'd see me on my laptop, and I used to have a bad battery. I'd be the closest one to the outlet, and I'd be like, and I'd be like watching, and I'd be just like going on and on and on. But now, I said, I want to approach conferences differently. This is the AI age. I need to be as smart as college students. So I have Otter running on my phone, and then I get a little link into my email that says, hey, your notes are ready. And I can actually go into Otter, and I can either ask the AI directly some questions, like, hey, what were the top 5 points from Kathleen Black's speech? Can you remind me of Chad's framework for success? Or can what are some of the statistics that Mark brought up? And I can go into that specific meeting and I can ask that. Or I can dive deeper, like Paul did, and I can say, can he pull out all the book recommendations from this speech? Or I can take it further and I can go into the transcript and I can say, well, I don't like Otter's AI, maybe it works differently. So I can go in and just export the transcript out of Otter and dump the transcript into ChatGPT, because that's the operating system I'm more familiar with, and then I can interact with it in ChatGPT. Hey, here was this great speech on delegation. You know I'm a hot mess and I have too much on my plate. Help me figure out, like, apply Chad's speech to my business. And give me, like, make me as smart as Paul, apply these points to me. What are 3 things I could do today that I can act on from this conference? Maybe you drop all the notes. And I'm going to give you all the notes, by the way. Little bonus for being here. So I'm going to give you all the notes from all the speakers, and you can play with this at home. And you can export all those links, you can export all those transcripts, you can dump them all into ChatGPT, you can either upload them with a little plus button in the file, or you can just drop the copy in. But I recommend just like downloading text files and uploading, you can upload 10 files at a time into any chat. And then you can hit the next one and upload 10 more. Like, there's not a limit per thread, it's just a limit in each little instance. So you can upload 10 files from 10 speakers and say, hey, I just went to Realm Global Collective. I'm a luxury agent in Vermont. What are 3 things I could do today to take action on this conference so that I can earn $6,000 and pay for the conference, right? Like, how do I actually walk away from a conference and make it pay for itself? Would anybody like to do that? Yeah, hell yeah, right? Like, we're all about implementation, and then we went to the bar, had 15 whiskeys, and we're like, implement what? Right? So, especially if you're hanging out with somebody who got a gift card, that was fun. So, because then you can have $35 drinks. But in any event, so if you had fun at the Celestial Ball, and if you had fun at the outdoor gala, and if you had fun at dinners, and if not everything stuck the next day, you can go back to the Otter notes and say, apply this to my business. Give me 3 things that I can do to actually make money or save money this week. And then give me a standard operating, or give me a checklist for how to do that. Should I do it myself or should I delegate it? Who should I delegate it to? What should their standard operating procedures be? So point number 24, and I know I skipped like 3 or 4 in the middle, I'll see that in the Otter notes. But point number 24 or something like that is, if I am going to delegate something, how do I delegate? And I used to be really, really bad at delegating. I was speaking on the stage in Orlando at an event for Magnifica. It's a ultra luxury resort. It's trying to redefine luxury in Orlando. And they're building a private airlines and a hotel and a spa and this whole amazing stuff. And it was a great event. And they brought me down to the Four Seasons to speak on AI. And where was I going with this story? Go back and look at my notes where I was going with that. Delegate. So I was on stage and someone stood up and said, hey, I'm writing a book, Delegate or Die. Do you want to co-author it with me? I'm like, sure. And I'm like, I'm a hot mess at delegating. Like, what do they just say yes to? Right? But I know delegating is important. And she knew I worked with virtual assistants. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's like figure something out. We're working on that. But when you're delegating, it's like, well, how do I delegate? What do I delegate? So I asked ChatGPT, I'm like, hey, I'm writing books, I've got an AI software business, I've got a coaching business, I'm a realtor, like, hot mess. If you want to see how much of a hot mess, point number 28, ask ChatGPT to roast you. And then say, you didn't go deep enough. And have it roast you again. And you can see how much it actually knows about you. But going back to delegating, 27. So I said, hey, I've got all this stuff going on. In the roast, you told me, dude, focus already. Read the book, The One Thing, before you go to bed, or you're going to die. So I'm like, okay, I need to delegate something off my plate. So I said, you know my business. How many assistants should I hire, and what would the job descriptions look like? And ChatGPT said, well, if you're going to hire 2 people, here's how you would divide the labor between the 2. And I said, okay, well, that sounds interesting. What does the first month look like for person 1 and person 2? That's great. Now, what does week 1 look like for person 1, person 2? What does that week look like? Break it down into it hour by hour. Give me a checklist. What is that person actually doing when they're onboarding? What systems do they need to learn? What do they need to learn about my business? How are they actually moving forward? What should my KPIs be when I hire somebody? What's my goal? Do I want 10 new appointments a month? Would 10 new appointments get me to my financial goal? At what listing point should I do? Or what commission should I do to hit my goal of Tony's goal of 300 million? Right? How do I hit 300 million? What do my KPIs need to be for my assistants? to be able to hit that goal? What can we measure? Because what's measured is done. That's where success comes from, right? Let's just say if it can't be measured, it can't be done or something like that. I don't know. The success is in the math. So if we're going to do that, then I said, okay, well, what are sort of the standard operating procedures for that person? If I'm hiring an executive assistant, what's their SOPs? Hey, ChatGPT, create a prompt that will write SOPs for an executive assistant, right? So you can either free form, and I free form a lot, and I just keep going. I don't ask it to write all my prompts for every single time I'm writing prompts. Sometimes I'm just like, I gotta just brain dump and interact with it like Tony does. And so I just keep saying, hey, what are the SOPs for this position? What is a, if they're gonna be using Fellow or Trello or any other software, can you write a handbook or a guide, like an intro book on the software? And then, so what I did was I downloaded like all those wonderful things, uploaded it to a Google folder, and I said for the first 3 days, I told my assistant, I'm like, go to this Google folder, right? Because like, here's your first day, here's your first week, here's your first hour, here's everything you need to learn about the software. Yeah, I'm gonna stay with her 15 minutes, 30 minutes every day, and like say, here's your goal for today, here's what I'm gonna measure, here's what we're gonna look at. Yes, you have screen recording software that measures what they're doing, if they're not in your own backyard, you can actually see what someone's doing all day long to make sure they're staying on task and just ensure honesty and all that. Or to see where they got hung up, right? And you can measure it by like 4 screen captures an hour, or you just have continuous depending on the price point. But it's really fascinating that you can delegate that efficiently. I think it's awesome. And then we'll come back to you.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Rick, for the business plan custom prompt you shared with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
That took like what usually is a long, probably several days of planning into one. I mean, yes, I will find it and then I want to think of it, but
Yeah.
it was fabulous. And from there, I created a marketing plan based on the goals from the business plan.
Awesome.
Yeah, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Big help.
I didn't know anybody actually used that, so I
Oh, yeah, I
appreciate
love
that. So point number 23 or 24, at one point I wrote a business plan GPT, and I shared it with everybody in Realm. And I said, here's, and I've got to refine it and modernize it, but even at its first iterative stage, it was useful because it's like write a business plan. And if you're going to write a business plan more than once, or if you're going to do quarterly planning or something like that, you want to be able to go into a tool and have the smartest people in the world advising you on how to build a business plan. So if I were to redo it today, I would say, hey, who are you trained on that writes business plans for top performing real estate agents? And who are the best business plan writers in the world, regardless of business? How do I apply that to me, create a prompt around that, and build that? Bye, guys, thank you. I know, everybody who stays and everybody who even came for an hour, I'm so grateful, by the way. Like, I know this is like after the conference ended. Holy cow, we're almost at the end of the session, too. Your flights are coming up, you want to go to the pool, but you came here. And there were like 60 or 70 people, and I'm just so blessed that you guys came here. So thank you. Really appreciate it. If they hadn't left, I would have looked at my watch, trying to be for like 1 o'clock. Like, dude, seriously. So you can build, I would revamp that business plan custom GPT, and then go deeper. And so when I'm building out my software, I actually do that. I have ChatGPT create pitch decks. I have ChatGPT figure out who my ideal investor is. I have ChatGPT write a business plan, analyze my target market. I have ChatGPT going so deep dive. If I'm writing a book, I say, well, who's my audience? How am I gonna pitch this book to a publisher? How do I reframe this for Amazon? How do I do this? Point number 30, I can teach anyone of you how to write a book. And not just be an AI junk book, but actually be your own thoughts, your own expertise. If you want to become an expert in your market or an expert in niche, if you want to be the go-to authority on equestrian properties, I'll teach you how to write a book on, hey, here's how you sell luxury real estate properties. So when you go into that house, you're not going to Smart Agent, I love them, and I was on the cover of one of their inaugural magazine, but you don't have to pay them to write a book for you. Sorry, guys. But you don't anymore. You can actually use your own wisdom. If you have a YouTube channel, so much easier, because I'll teach you how to use all your transcripts from your YouTube channel. So if you're coaching, or if you want to help build a team, or if you want to motivate a region, if you're a pod-based brokerage or whatever, but you can say, hey, here's my book on selling horse properties. whether you use me or not, I think you need to read everything in this book and get to know it. Make sure the agent you hire knows everything that's in that book. Are they going to read that book? Hells no. But are they going to look at you as the authority on the question properties? Yeah, why? Because you wrote the book on it, right? And if they actually do open the book, if they bring it to the restroom and they're off time, and they're like flipping through the pages. No one's ever done that before, right? But if they're reading in some place in their off hours, or if they're waking up with the morning coffee, they look and they're like, wow, this chapter is actually insightful. I know there's this one business coach that writes this whole marketing platform on how to sell your house without a realtor. And he's like, he gives every FISBO, every expired. He's like, hey, you know what? You had a bad experience with the realtor. I get it. A lot of people do. I just wanted to come by, drop off this 500-page book on how to do my job. Everything you need to know is right here in this book. I gave you all my tools, all my resources, all the pricing. I just want to make sure that you get the experience you want, which is obviously not to work with a realtor, at least for the bad one. But here's the book on how to sell a home without a realtor. Here's how to sell a high-end luxury home without a realtor. Do you think anybody wants to save $200,000 on the commission? Heck yeah. And I'm working on a commercial deal right now. We're haggling over the fee agreement before I can even show them the hotel. So people want to save money. They're smart. They didn't get rich by overspending. They say, well, here's a book that I wrote on how to sell a high-end luxury property without hiring a high-end luxury realtor. Because who wants to waste that kind of money? You can put that on the cover. Be cheeky with it. And then right when they go in, you gave it always for free. But guess what's going to happen? They're going to look at that book. They're going to read. They're going to see the size of it. They're going to see the detail. They're going to see how damn hard it is. Here's the chapter that you wrote on. Here are 100 questions you should ask a realtor to make sure they're going to do a good job. Of course, you fit all the answers to those 100 questions, and not somebody else. That's a Tom Ferry coaching technique or something. But when you give them everything they need, and say, look, I'm just giving this away. I'm just a good human. You don't know, like, and trust. So you get them to know, like, and trust you. You gave it away. Everybody else came in asking you for money. You came in and gave them the keys to the bank. And they say, well, you know what? Because you were so nice to give me the keys to the bank, you just want to, like, manage my bank for me. And I have a feeling you're going to take care of me because you're the expert in this area. Yeah, I need to come back. I'm sorry.
No problem. Your presentations are always amazing. You're amazing. And I think the whole team here was just a lot of
Thank you.
So that's number one. And then I think if you and I work together closely, we would pull my assistant, because that's how I work. Every morning, modules for us, and seasoned brokers, that you say, here are the 10 things that would really elevate your business. Because what you did today was spark lots of ideas, and I'm trying to say, what are the 10 that I can do to drive my business forward?
It's going to depend on your business. So one of the ways I was going to do today was going to start with a Q&A on give me 15 things you're struggling with right now. And I was going to solve 15 problems so you can move your business forward. And then taking a whole different riff and a whole different path, which I hope was beneficial. Was it helpful?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, there's like 30 different ways to use AI off the top of my head type of thing. But the other way we can go about this is to say, hey, what's your problem this week? And one of the things that I offered, if you do the video testimonials, it wasn't to say, like, if you wanted to do a video testimonial saying how great Rick is, that's great. I can put it on my website. That's helpful too. And I appreciate those. But if you want to do a 30-second testimonial about, hey, this is how I took Rick's class, and now this is how I use AI, that helps realm. That helps realm members. Because now we'll build a library of those, and you'll see 100 different examples of how other people are using AI to solve real problems in their day-to-day. So that's the point of that. But what I was giving away with that from stage, and if you weren't here, if you were in a wellness pod or in a hyperbaric or something, what I was giving away with that was if you send in one of those video testimonials, I'll give you 1 month of one-on-one AI coaching. And so that's like you just use a calendar link, get 15 minutes with me. We talk about what are you working on right now? What's your obstacle? What have you tried so far? It's called the WOW method. So it's what are you working on? What's your obstacle? What have you tried so far? And then we look at it together in that little 15-minute Zoom call about how you can use AI to solve that problem that day. And I just want to give you like a 1 month trial of that. I actually kind of give that away at $1,000 for the year anyway. I think it's kind of the best value in AI coaching on anywhere because you get access to me for a full year. But I give you a little sample of that if you just send in a video testimonial, and that's where we dive into your business and say what are the top 10 things you should be doing, because Tony's doing 10 different things. Sally's doing 10 different things. Don's doing 10 different things. Right? So there are everybody's 10 different things are going to be different. I think that's what I'm saying.
Do you use any other AI or GPTs for data analysis?
Oh,
I'm gonna work with you on that.
yeah. So the question was, and are you here to cut me off?
Yeah.
So a couple things, because Aaron's here to cut me off. Yep. So I want to blow this up again, just so people have that. Oh, that's not gonna. Here, I'll put it into. Again. Oh, come on. All right, I'll wrap this up in 3 to 5 minutes.
Perfect.
All right, there we go. I'm still. All right, let me get out of here. All right, this is what almost happened this morning. That would have been a fun presentation. So I'm going to give you this whole list of tools. We didn't get any chance to go into all of those, but I'm going to give you that whole list. I'm also going to give you the Otter notes from today's session. I'm going to give you the Zoom link for today's session because I did a screen recording of what was on there. I can't get anything to type. What?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So since I can't get anything on the planet to type at the moment, tinyurl.com/RicksVA, tinyurl.com/RICKSVA. Try to win that bet. I just need 20 of you guys to book a free appointment on that and just see if a VA is right for you. I train all your VAs on AI. To your question, data analysis. Yes, so one of the things that AI does tremendously well is consume massive amounts of information. Right? I already told you I could upload a 300-page manuscript, and it gave me overarching themes. It gave me where I can improve the entire book. It also gave me chapter by chapter every line that should be obliterated or reworked, or where chapter 2 was like duplicating chapter 4 and all that stuff. 300 pages is like 25 seconds. It's absolutely phenomenal. So can it do data analysis? Heck yeah. You can throw in massive Excel spreadsheets. You can throw in like all the financials and P&Ls. And try that, point number 32 or 33. Like if everybody here knows their numbers because you're successful, you have systems, but take your numbers and have ChatGPT analyze. Now I'm not going to say throw in your social security number, your bank statements, because stuff becomes public knowledge, but really your P&L, do you care? Right? Not really. So anything you don't really care about or anything you can make anonymized, don't put in your name, your address, and your dog's name, and your mother's maiden name, and all those things on there. But you can take your P&Ls, anonymize them, and then say, hey, ChatGPT, analyze my P&L, analyze my. I took all the account information off my bank statements. Analyze my spending. Like, really? Yeah, don't do that. No. But you can have it do that, right? It'll read through all those numbers for you. It'll crunch anything you give it, because the way AI is built out, it's gonna blow your mind. We used to, if anybody, like most people here go back to like iPod, right? You had 1,000 songs in your pocket, and you had 10,000 songs in your pocket. Now, Mark Assad, sorry, I don't know, but interrupt Otter, probably has a million songs in his pocket, just with his phone. But we now have 1,000 or 10,000 experts in our pocket at all times, helping us do everything we do better, faster, and easier. And to me, that's exciting and a way to save time. Thanks, guys.
One more time for Rick Janson. So congratulations, this room was the members that successfully finished every single part of the RGs. Rick, how did you get your books?
They will be on Amazon hopefully before my birthday, mid-June.
On Amazon before mid-June.
So you're gonna tell us, right?
Yes.
Oh, it'll be announced. We'll put it on the events calendar as a
You
thing.
want us to